the fact that you switch from grease to oil when it gets this cold because it just creates, it just gums up and stops.
It's thick that it gums up, it works and doesn't work well. So you could go to a thinner lubrication at this, or even if you're going to play in this a lot, just no lubrication at all. I run my gun dry a lot of times, and I know a lot of people are cringing right now.
Yeah, well, there is that, like, the Flitz and the graphite type lubes. So Jeff says that he went to the indoor range. It's a whole lot nicer.
Yeah, the worst part of the indoor range is it has a hint of heat, and so you are looking forward to the fact that you might get a warm spot. And at the outdoor range, you don't have to worry about that. You know it's not coming, so you're more focused on your drills. And
the hint of heat is pretty funny because with the ventilation the way that it is, it tries to heat you up, but it's sort of like a baby chicken with a light bulb. It looks like
so you get 5 feet from it, you're done.
You're done. I see that there might be heat over there, but I'm not there. Exactly.
Right. So, but we go out, we have fun, we do some drills and some drawing and shooting and moving and shooting and different things like this. Sometimes we'll play with our muzzle loaders and this stuff because with light snow on the ground, you can see how much powder burn you're getting versus what's being just blown out on the ground.
Oh, so you get to critique it. And that's an interesting thing.
Right. So sometimes you may be putting an extra 10 or 15 grains of powder in that you're not using. You're just blowing it out. So by seeing what's happening, you can back off on the gunpowder, and it gives you a whole new. You get a new shot with every 3 shots you wish you can.
Okay. So Jeff says that they did not have heat on this time in the range indoors. So the indoor range was optimistically indoors, but it really didn't help you because there's huge ventilation. There's just no wind, but there's a lot of cold air moving because they really have to move a lot of air.
When you go outdoors, if it's just cold, it's cold and it's not a bad thing. But if it's windy or there's like a light rain coming down, then you get cold really fast and that stuff. But if it's just a solid no wind day, it's not so bad. And if you keep moving, you're in pretty good shape.
I'm just gonna say no. I am still, when it's that cold outside, I'm gonna stay home and I'm going to dry fire and I'm going to play with my Mantis X because I can do that without utilizing bullets and without getting cold. So it is a combo that works for me tremendously. So when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about the Colt Commander, and we're going to talk Rob and the history of the gun. You know, Carmack the Magnificent here. Just wind him up, and we'll start to learn things. We'll be back right after this.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
We are back and we're talking about the history of the Colt Commander.
Well, there's a couple different variations of this. The Colt 1911 government model everyone recognizes. During the First World War, they used the 1911. During the Second World War, they used some 1911s and the 1911A1 platform, which was a couple little changes in it to make it easier for people with small hands to use it. Once it went to civilian service after the war, a lot of police officers and stuff wanted the gun, and regular people wanted one for in their pocket. So they started working on a smaller gun. So they had a commander and a combat commander that they made. The commander was the first one. In the 50s, they started with them. They had an alloy frame, but a steel slide. They tended to crack the frames on them, and so there was a lot of issues with the early aluminum frames. Then in the 70s, they came out with the Combat Commander, which has a steel frame. So it's an all steel. It's a little heavier gun, but it's all steel. It was better in every sense because it didn't crack or gall up. The aluminum, the early aluminum, sometimes would gall up and lock to the slide also. The Combat Commanders were a pretty popular gun. They made them 9mm 38 Super and 45 automatic. The 9mm are actually pretty rare guns. If you have a satin nickel 9mm, those are extremely rare platform of that gun.
Huh, okay.
It's apparently if you're going to buy a gun like that, you want the full-size 45. Nobody wants the little 9mm.
They didn't go with it for the 9mm. And the rarer the gun, the more then...
But the more value it has later in life. I mean, at the time, they cost exactly the same money whether you bought the 9mm or the 45. It's just that a lot more people went in. They wanted the big gun, the big bore caliber instead of the small, so they ended up buying that. But today, collector-wise, there's more collectors than there is guns in the 9mm category. So they just drive the price higher and higher. All of the satin nickel guns are actually kind of rare and valuable, and one that the finish tended to peel off of them. So if you don't have one that's starting to peel up or anything, that's even a plus from that. So most of them came in a regular blue finish. They had a little round ball hammer on them instead of having the spur hammer.
So when you say it's a satin nickel, it's a steel frame with a nickel coating.
It's a nickel coating, but it's got like a sandblasted finish to it.
Okay.
So it's definitely pebbly looking.
Mm-hmm.
They did make some shiny nickel stuff, but they were trying. It was kind of funny because they tried the satin nickel, and there also was a finish called Armalloy coming through at about the same time, and it too was a bubbly gray finish, kind of more of a electric box gray color than the silver, and it was supposed to be really tough and hard to do anything to it. And a lot of people would send guns out and have it done in this Armalloy finish. With today, that has killed the collector value on the gun, but it's the gun's still in the same shape it was when I had it done.
If it came with the Armalloy finish, that has a value, but you have to prove it. If you had it done
afterwards, then that you've ruined the collector value. It's kind of funny that you take an old car and restore it, and no matter how nice it looks, it's better than it was as a rusty heap. Gun's not like that. Even rust spots and broken parts are better than having new or different, or somebody, what they call it, bubbaing it up by adding other things to it.
Right. Modifications, man.
Sometimes that modification, you can see where the guy had broke something in the field in 1901, and he didn't really have a gunsmith around, so he cut the magazine tube back and moved it around and did something to it, and was able to use the gun for the next 75 years without any issues. Some things were just done, and you scratch your head as to why they did that, and so it's you got to look at it, the ones where they took a nail or something and they beat their initials in the side of the gun or something with the point of the nail, or
maybe they were bored. They're sitting in a foxhole.
I seen one time where the guy was apparently deer hunting and he's bored, so he took an M metal stamp and he went all the way around the whole thing he would put it one side this way, the M and then the W, and the M and the W, and he would reverse them, and he put this nice little border
all around the gun.
His Winchester. I mean, it probably knocked $500 off the value of his Winchester, but it looked pretty to him, apparently.
But he wasn't bored, and it was his. So, and that's one of those kind of things where people are like, well, why did Dad carry this gun? It would have been worth way more if he hadn't carried it.
Because that's what he bought it for. It was his, and that's the fact that guy with the M and the W's, he could pick that gun out of a pile of guns and nothing flat. He didn't have to look at serial numbers or anything. He knew which one was his.
Which was his.
And I get a lot of people who they bought a really nice high-powered rifle, but it's too nice to go to the woods with. It's like you're supposed to look back on those scratches and things as I had a great time that day, and as I slid down the mountain or whatever.
Right.
And down the road, the kid's going to not get the value out of it that he would if you kept it brand new in its original box, but you didn't get the value out of it either by not using it.
Yeah, so your life experiences have value. That maybe the price of the gun is decreasing, but the experiences, I mean, you're paying, if you go to do things, you pay for that experience. You pay.
Right, every education costs money, whether you're going to college or you're falling down the side of the mountain.
Think about it. Even if you go to Disney World, you're paying for the day's experience, whatever that is.
You go to out west to go hunting, whether you get something or not, you're paying for that experience.
For the experience.
And the next time, there's a better chance you'll get something because of the stuff you learned the first time.
First time. And so that experience has value. And it may decrease the value of the gun to a point, but you're enjoying it. You're using it. You're having a good time with it. And so you're involved in the sport.
The Combat Commanders are about an inch shorter than the standard government model. So they're not really that small. They're just smaller.
So what is one worth?
A lot depends on condition. The blued one, a regular blued one that's been carried and used and like that, $500, $600, $700, depending on the satin nickel ones. Depending on if you got the box and the paperwork, they go probably $1,000 to $2,000, depending on what all you have and how super nice it really is.
Oh, that's great.
A lot of it used to be it was hard to sell a gun in your area, but now with the internet, the guy who's paying the big money is right there in your area. Right?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't matter where you are. You put it out there, and
he said, "Sure, I'll have that. Send it to me."
Yeah, exactly. So shout out, Charlie is a great brand. I just want to know. So folks, when we come back, we are going to have Duane Liptak. He's from.
I don't know. You told me.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
This is Dan Perkins with your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
So hey folks, welcome back, and we have in our guest segment joining us on the phone Duane Liptak from Magpul Industries, and we asked Duane to come on because there is so much stuff happening right now in the Second Amendment world, where they're talking about high capacity magazines versus standard capacity magazines versus terminology versus restrictions and what's happening and where it's happening. So, hey, Duane, thanks for joining us on Eye on the Target Radio.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hey, yeah. So it's good to have you. So let's start with, fill us in on what is Magpul hearing about magazines and magazine restrictions with this new political regime that we are living with.
Well, we don't have a crystal ball, but we do see, cascade of legislation that's been filed both on the House side and the Senate side. We were encouraged to see that both Sinema and Manchin bailed on voting away the filibuster for legislation, which means there's still a 60-vote threshold to pass firearms legislation unless they tuck it into something else. Or use some kind of emergency provision or something nefarious like that. But in any case, that should still be a 60-vote threshold for firearms legislation, which means they've got to get some R's on board. And unfortunately, there are some R's that we worry about with respect to magazine restrictions, assault weapons bans, background check, any number of Second Amendment issues. There's some folks that have traditionally proven themselves a little bit soft and squishy on those issues, not truly standing up for the Constitution. And so there's some concerns, but, at least it's not worrying about a 50-50 vote with Kamala Harris breaking the tie. So that's kind of what, with that as the background, what do we actually expect to see? I don't know. Are they going to try a whole bunch of stuff? Probably. Will they succeed? I don't know. We're going to try our best to try and fight that back. And so, our lobbyists and working with various other organizations, trying to talk sense and folks up there on the Hill, which is always a challenging task.
Yeah, talking sense with somebody who may or may not have any. So what happens to our listeners have been hearing from a variety of different kind of lawyerish people just over the course of the show for the term in common use. And then standard capacity magazines, the 30-round magazines, are in common use everywhere. How is that? What's your spin on how that's going to impact or address anything?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the in common use or Heller standard is what we're up against right now, as opposed to the Miller standard from back when they first tried the first Second Amendment case there, NFA case, to cement it as constitutional, even though it was not. But anyway, the Miller standard was in military use, which is much more in keeping with the original kind of intent of the Second Amendment. But now we've watered it down to in common use via the Heller standard. But either way you look at it, in common use, we are absolutely beyond any shadow of a doubt in common use. So when you start to talk about magazines with a capacity greater than 10, a conservative estimate puts that number within the United States at somewhere around 300 million. So almost one for every man, woman, and child. And so I would defy anyone to argue that does not make magazines with a capacity greater than 10 to be anything other than in common use.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, if everybody has one, or everybody could have one, there's enough for everyone to have one. That's pretty common. Sort of like noses. Noses are common. Everybody's got one, right?
Right.
So, okay.
Would say that any there's 100 million of would be uncommon by any stretch of the imagination.
Wow, yeah, that is absolutely crazy. So fill us in. I mean, you're the magazine guy, okay? So tell us, when we're shopping for stuff for our guns, for magazines, how do we know a good one from a bad one? What are we looking for? You know, let's kind of go down that path, the technical education kind of teach us something path.
All right. Well, it's certainly tough just from looking at something, and certainly not a whole lot can be discerned from small sample size, unscientific YouTube tests and reviews and things like that. It's very difficult. And even your favorite trainer, the issue there is, what conditions are they firing it in, and what are their usage conditions and standards, that kind of stuff, versus anybody else. And ammunition types play into it, and it's difficult to discern what's a good magazine versus a poor magazine. When it comes to stuff, you fortunately have a body of government testing, which is available out there. The 2014 M855A1 magazine, or commercial magazine conformance test, that was released with some redacted areas that had to do with the chamber face deformation and feed ramp deformation due to projectile tip impacts. But other than that, the reliability data has been put out there. The Marine Corps test of late 2015, I think December 2015, they published their data, which was the Gen M3 PMAG, the Tan Follower USGI, the Blue Follower USGI or EPM magazine, and Lancer L5 AWM. And both of those tests have been published through Freedom of Information Act requests and are out there, and you can take a look and see. There were some 16 commercial magazines that were tested in the 2014 test, and of course in the 4 in the Marine Corps test, in which both of those, the Gen M3 PMAG was absolutely number one by a long shot, and then it went. Let's see. In the 2015 test, there was it was depending on. They tested several different types of ammunition, which is the other thing. So that test is very informative because it's not just M855 Alpha 1. So some people would argue, the conformance test was just Alpha 1 with those sharp penetrator tips, and so it's not what I'm shooting. But the Marine Corps test used both a more commercially available Dodic as well as the penetrator stuff. So that is out there. There's a SOCOM test that you can see some results. So I'd take a look at that.
Okay, so wait, so swing back, so because you're talking really technical and you're talking really fast. So you're saying that in both cases, the Magpul PMAG came out number one, right? So which means that for those of us who don't really want to read all that, we can just go look for your logo and know that we've got a good quality mag, right? Is that what you're saying? Number one.
I'll give you the bottom line. I'm running along here, and I get excited about this because I really like magazine reliability stuff. Yeah, you have to excuse me every once in a while. But so the last round of Aberdeen testing was a 250,000 round test with the Gen M3 PMAG, and we went 33,850 rounds, I believe, between magazine-related stoppages. So that's so basically the double the life of your barrel if it's not a cold hammer forged barrel, and you would never experience a magazine related stoppage with the Gen M3 PMAG, which is orders and orders of magnitude over USGI and anything else that's ever been tested.
Well, okay, and it's going to be, for most human beings, it's going to be over and above anything that they will ever put through their gun, especially if they've got, let's say, even though they say, oh yeah, I shoot a lot, they're going to have 2 or 3 mags in rotation, and so now when you triple that number, it is a pretty darn huge. Your ammo bill would need to be the national debt.
Yeah. It's with a Gen M3P mag, it is extremely unlikely that you ever experience a magazine-related stoppage, ever. It's a lifetime of shooting, basically, before you are likely to see a magazine-related stoppage. Now, there are other things that can play into that. Those are laboratory conditions, technically, with 600 rounds between inspections, 1,200 rounds between cleanings, and although an AR will keep running as long as you keep lubing it. When you get sand and things like that, those numbers are going to run back, but they also run back on the other magazines, so you end up at not even being able to make it through a full mag on a USGI or some of the other competitors out there, and we're still in the thousands of rounds. So on an AR stuff, we try to make it easy for everybody, and like I said, that data is out there, it's verifiable. You don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah, but you're a radio expert, so we're going to take your word for it, because you're not going to lie to us, because it's going to come back to haunt you if you do. The internet is forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't take my word for it. I challenge you to go out, take a look at that data. It's there. Finally, it's out there, and you can take a look at it. So I'm just some chump on the radio.
Yeah, some chump on the radio. So, hey, we're getting ready to head for a commercial break, and then when we come back, I'd like you to, you've got this really cool picture in the Ops Lens. So the folks who are watching via Ops Lens, there's a really cool picture with this really cool magazine that I want to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to come and talk a little bit about putting your money where your mouth is to what the political climate is, and where your company is, and then where your company moved, and why your company moved, and all of those kind of things. So, folks, we're talking to Duane Liptak from Magpul Industries, and we'll be back right after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So Tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Okay, folks, we are back, and we are back with our guest, Duane Liptak from Magpul Industries. And on the OpsLens app, if you're watching us, watching radio is kind of like watching paint dry, but there's a bunch of you out there that are actually doing it. But Duane has provided us with a picture, and in the picture, he's got this really cool looking AR, and he's got, what is that, a 50 round, a 60 round drum mag? What is that? And I'm assuming that it is a Magpul product. So tell us about it.
Indeed. So that is me doing some kind of. So we do informal testing as well as our formal testing. So the formal testing happens on ranges, and the informal stuff is generally several of us in product management just kind of trying to break it. But that one is actually one of the only Knights SR25s that have been factory full auto and have left the factory. That's really that format is really just for testing for the most part. That is a factory Knights SR25 full auto 308 or 7.62, and our D50 drum magazine. And now we were doing some informal testing as well as getting some video for the release video and some photos, and that was a 50 round 7.62 mag dump.
It's a pretty cool picture. So is that magazine commercially available?
Oh, absolutely. We have a number of drum magazines right now that are shipping, and some that are imminently shipping. The D60, the 60 round 5.56 magazine, of course, has been available since 2015. The D50 7.62 or 308 magazine, which also works with 6.5 and some others that are similar case format. That one has been available since last year or the year before. Excuse me. And then we have several D50 9mm products that are shipping, as well as some more that are on their way for the EV, the Scorpion. The CZ Scorpion 9mm format is out there. We're about to ship the Glock pattern PCC drum. There's a Glock pistol PCC drum that's going to be out there shortly after that, and then an HKMP5 pattern 50 round drum. 9mm that'll be out there once again. That one's probably going to be late spring, but yeah.
Okay, so in common use is going to become a 50 rounder pretty darn soon.
So yeah, the numbers on the 60 rounder are actually you could certainly make a compelling argument for being in common use as well. That's been a very popular product for us, and we have shipped a lot of those. I won't say exact or even rough numbers, but it's a lot.
Yeah. A lot of that. Okay. Not as many as noses on your face, but a lot.
There you go.
Got it. Okay, so your company made history with you put your money where your mouth was with politics happening where you were, the state that you were, and you're like, okay, we're moving, we're leaving, we're packing up. So tell folks about that and where you went and how hard was that decision to make?
Yeah, that was a tough one. So at the time, we had stayed out of politics for the most part. We'd do our, support this organization or that organization, but we hadn't been lobbying. We hadn't been, trusted NSSF and other folks to just handle that for us up into that point. But then when it happened in our home state, we were kind of thrust into it. And, we found ourselves behind the curve, and certainly, wish we'd been, more active on our own, not just relying on other organizations to do it up to that point. But, we kind of were forced into the arena. And what we found when we started talking to some of these folks and working with the NRA and the NSSF and other folks that were trying to fight this is that they just didn't care. They had the majority, and they really didn't care about any of the arguments. They didn't care about actual safety. They didn't care. You could argue with them until you were blue in the face on the fact that it only hurts law-abiding citizens and doesn't harm criminals whatsoever. They still have the same capabilities. They're not going to follow these silly rules. And even if they did, they're prepared for whatever they're about to do, and they catch a homeowner who is or someone on the street who is a law-abiding citizen not as prepared for that kind of incident. And so, somebody, a violent criminal can show up with 10 5-round magazines and a way to carry them. And if I respond in the middle of the night in my boxer shorts, I really don't have a whole lot of places to stick magazines. So whatever's in the gun is likely what I'm responding to, what goes bump in the night with, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, all these arguments, they didn't care. Second Amendment, anything, it didn't matter. So the only thing that, at that point, we needed to figure out a strategy that would get their attention, and the economic argument was one of them. It's like, look, you're gonna the way the legislation was written, they were going to force us essentially to stop making magazines within the state, and we would have to move our operation. So then they said, well, hey, you know what? We'll put an exclusion in there so you can stay in the state and manufacture magazines, but just nobody can have them. And so at that point, it's like, no, ideologically, I just, that doesn't sit well with us, and that doesn't make sense. And you're not going to allow, we can't allow you to create some kind of carve out and then us sit here and pretend that that's okay. Well, everybody that works for us and everybody else that, in the state that we live in, is unable to possess, magazines lawfully. So we said, no, ideologically, we can't stay. So we're still going to move. So if you pass this, we will leave. We'll take our tax revenue. And at that time, it was, I think, $85 million in economic impact at the point, and several hundred jobs. And we'll leave the state. And we came really, really close. It came down to one vote, and it was a phone call from, I believe it was actually from then Vice President Biden, who made the phone call to shore up the support of the wavering Democrat who we, almost had convinced to vote this thing down. But so by one vote, it passed, and therefore we had to keep our word. Now it took us. It's not like you can call a U-Haul and or two guys in a truck and move an operation like that quickly. So it took about a year before we had headquarters location chosen and started relocation to Austin, Texas, and then manufacturing just up the road to Cheyenne, Wyoming. We still have a design and engineering facility in Colorado. Some folks couldn't move due to various family situations and things like that. And we always said we wouldn't completely abandon Colorado because we still wanted to maintain standing for various things. And, we didn't want to, there are various different businesses and things like that we still wanted, that stuck by us through all this. And so we weren't going to completely abandon Colorado, but we were going to move the vast majority of our jobs and our income tax and tax producing revenues out of the state, as well as our headquarters. And we did that. So now we are over 700 jobs in the Wyoming facility. Headquarters, of course, still down here in Austin, Texas. We still have that smaller design facility actually, we moved it to a different facility, a building west there towards Louisville, Colorado. But we still have those three facilities. But once again, we took 200 jobs with us, and now it's 700 plus in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Wyoming has been fantastic. Texas is very, very welcoming, of course, as well. But Wyoming, when you take, we're one of the largest employers in Wyoming right now with 700 jobs or 700 plus jobs. So
that's amazing, because it is so great that you guys didn't just like roll over and say, okay, carve it out for us, let us go, because they were going, we philosophically don't agree with anything that you are, except your money's very green and we want it.
Yeah.
So that was yeah.
That was exactly what they were saying, and it was, and I can get to some of the other stuff. It was just some dirty pool that was played after the fact. It doesn't.
Okay, we're right at the top. We're gonna close up. So at some point I'll have you back talking more. So folks, Magpul Industries, go check out magpul.com. Duane Liptak, and he comes on to talk about where he puts his money where his mouth is. Don't allow politics to bully you. And so he just picked it up and he moved it. We'll be back.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Regulations, and even a gun tax. They have aligned themselves with anti-gun activists like billionaire Michael Bloomberg and appoint radicals like Beto O'Rourke as the anti-gun czar. The fight begins now with your text of Protect 2A to 474747. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder. Your right to own a gun and protect your family are on the line. Text Protect 2A to 474747 and join the fight to protect your Second Amendment rights. Text Protect 2A to 474747 to pledge your support and become a Second Amendment first responder.
sweet ever you. Train rolls in the station. You cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. You can lay on the platform. You can weep and moan. You can reach your hand up and stop standing low. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
So hey folks, we are here, and I just want to tell you that Car Arms is our sponsor, and so we are so grateful to them, and they allow us or assist us in bringing this show to you. And so we bring you this show, we and Car Arms, we bring you this show via the radio. So if you're tuning in that way, through podcasts, you can tune in that way. Through the website, there's that. And then now we have been, as of December, we have been on-demand video through the OpsLens. So there's an OpsLens app that is on your phone. There is OpsLens on Fire Stick, on Roku, Apple TV, just kind of a variety of places. So we're spreading out. We're spreading the message, making it a little more available to each of you. So tune in, tell your friends, and share it. Share the message, because we really, really appreciate that. And I think that you can go to our YouTube channel, and if you like it there, or the OpsLens, you like it there somewhere, it'll give you a reminder. It's technology. It will give you a reminder to tell you, hey, it's Sunday, and Rob and Amanda are on, and you're not going to want to miss this, whatever it is. So
you could just set an alarm on your smartphone too.
Well, you could. But you can use technology and have them remind you. There is that. So Utah's got some news. Utah's House passed permitless carry. So it's passed through the House, it's passed through their Senate, and now it's waiting for the governor. And this is what is really kind of interesting. It says, and this is a statement that really applies to any of the constitutional carries. It says that this bill helps protect the rights of self-defense for every Utahian. Did you know that they were Utahians? Okay. The perception of the law, all y'all Utahians, something. I don't know. It's really kind of funny looking at how a state says who they are. Ohioans, Floridians, they add some extra letters in there for some of them, but yeah.
Oklahoma apparently just says you're an Okie.
Well, let's pull some letters out. Florida gets the extra ones for what Oklahoma takes out. The perception of this law implies it's a significant change, but in reality, it's a very small change. You can carry a gun in your home, you can carry a gun on your property, in your car, and in that state, and in my state, and in some of your states, you can open carry. But if you cover that open carry gun with your jacket, you're now breaking the law. And that's the part we're trying to fix. So I think that's a very interesting statement. And then the other part of it is that when a state passes constitutional carry, they also keep in place their concealed carry permit, because that gives you the ability to have reciprocity so that you can vacation and you can travel and you can check out and see where else your gun is welcome based on your attorney general and the negotiations that they have done.
It's kind of funny that a couple weeks ago, Montana came out and said, we're going to look at this, and their House was working on a bill, and Utah's like, oh yeah, watch us, and they passed their stuff faster. The Senate now has passed it. It's I believe it's at the governor's desk right now. So
eat my dust.
Yeah,
right. But there's other states that are in the negotiation phases right now. Ohio's talking about it, and then it's somewhere.
Ohio's always slow, though. They talk about it like 2 or 3 different election cycles before they finally make a move.
I'm telling you. Yeah, they just need...
Unless one of them wants something, and then they try to butter you up for it.
But otherwise, it's a slow... they're slow walking, slow talking, slow thinking kind of state is where we are. But congratulations to Utah. Just let's see when the governor signs it, see what happens with it.
With the new president and that, they're always talking about they're going to change the gun laws and that. Oklahoma has... a county that says they're a Second Amendment sanctuary now. So we were going through this, about a year ago?
Year and a half ago, yeah.
Was saying that they were going to be Second Amendment sanctuaries. The problem that you have with this is it's fine while this sheriff or this governor or whatever is in there, but when you get a new one, now all it takes for them to do is just say, nope, that's old laws, we're doing something different.
So
if you can get it actually voted on in the House and make it permanent, then it's much better.
Yeah, legislation as opposed to someone just saying, we're
seeing this with all of these executive orders, where Trump had put these in, and then Biden just went in and took them all out again. So it's as soon as the next guy goes in, it's as easy as a signing of a pen.
They're out. They're in. They're out. Yeah. So and you don't know, and you won't know. In a lot of cases, you won't know until you're standing there in front of the judge saying, "Sir, I didn't know." Right. And that you don't want to be case law. You do not want to be the one.
They put a retraction in. It makes headlines or whatever it is, and then the retraction's on page 16 behind the thing next to the
donut sale.
Yeah, Tuesday Coney dog sale paper.
Exactly. So when a sheriff declares a Second Amendment sanctuary for his county, there's not any documentation to that. So the better part is when the municipalities actually sign something for that municipality or the state declares the state a Second Amendment sanctuary.
The thing is we're sitting at a really good time for this because there's so many people today are buying guns. I mean, they've been setting records all last year. January came along. The only reason they didn't sell more guns in January is because there's no guns to buy.
They bought them all.
We're down to the boxes. They're buying empty boxes because the guns are long gone. But as you get more and more people that have a gun and they realize that these laws that you're trying to pass are trying to affect them, it's not about the drug dealer at the end of the street or the drug cartel or the gangs in the inner city. It's about the little guy who actually pays attention to the law, because the gangs in the city and the drug cartel are not going to pay attention to this stuff. We need to get together. We need to make sure that they realize that there's 300 million of us and that we don't want to play this game no more. Every day it costs us more money. Why? I mean, we're sending money to this organization, that organization, trying to fight them when we should stick together and stomp our foot once, and maybe they'll get the message.
Yeah, but I don't know which foot you're stomping and where you're stomping it at. That's the problem.
I mean, that's the problem we have is the gun industry itself, the gun community will eat its own self, because if you post a picture of you showing some little kid how to shoot and your finger's in the wrong spot, or it looks like the muzzle is flat going over someone else, even though dimensionally in the photo the guy is 25 feet behind you or something, they still tear you to pieces about this stuff. And
then they're like, and the little kid isn't. They're wearing adult hearing protection. They're not wearing kids hearing protection. You know, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's sitting in their mom's basement.
When I was a kid, we shot without hearing protection and any of that stuff till about 1970, when they decided that you needed a hearing protection.
I'm going to say that as I sit next to you...
we used to sell these little earplugs, and they were just like a silicone rubber with aluminum check valve in them. They were called noise valves or something like this. You'd lose them occasionally. You had to buy new ones all the time, but they were pretty comfortable and they worked, but they didn't really tell us. Probably 68, 69 was when they started saying you should be wearing hearing protection. So by then we'd already discovered the 44 Magnum and 57 Magnums and all that kind of stuff. And
I'm just going to say that as I sit next to you, you are the poster child for why all y'all need to be wearing hearing protection.
Well, if you go out into the woods in the quiet and you can hear the little peeping frogs chirping and stuff like this, I hear that all the time. When I'm watching TV, I could be in an office building, and I got these little chirping frogs that are in there all the time. So if that went away, then that would be a concern to me. And then some people, I can hear them speak just fine, and other people, their voice just is not there. And others, it takes me a second to tune in to hear what they're saying, especially like women that have a real high, chirpy voice. It's hard for me to pick that up. But some that have a more deeper voice, I can hear that fine. But a lot of times people say, can you hear that? And I'm like, no, I don't hear anything.
I don't hear that.
Or I can hear the fan on the air conditioning system in the building perfectly, but I can't hear the conversation going on 2 foot in front of me.
There's a lot of that. So hearing protection is a critical item, and it is for your own good. And at some point, we'll do a show talking about NRR, or noise reduction ratings, because that is an important thing. Understanding when you're buying hearing protection, what it means, and how do you know when you get a good one? Clue: higher the number, the better it is. We'll be back.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society Podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Are back, and so as we said a little bit in the Magpul interview, they were saying pay attention to the laws and what is happening in your community. Pay attention to what's happening in your state. Pay attention to what's happening in your country when it comes to the things that are important to you. And so in this case, it's the Second Amendment. It's guns and gun laws. And so the National Shooting Sports Foundation has rolled out a press release that says that the Biden-Harris administration wants to repeal the PLCAA, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. And so they are looking at it to take it away so that they can then start to really unleash a wave of baseless lawsuits that will shut down businesses, that will make Second Amendment businesses, the supply houses, the gun manufacturers, anything from magazines to scopes to just the rifle cases, all of that.
Happens being used, they just sue that company and whether it has merit or not, it costs them money to defend themselves.
Right.
And so all of it just burning up money in the law system and not actually helping anyone.
Well, and the issue is because the government has unlimited funds because they have your funds, and the company has limited funds. They can just keep running them through the mill over and over and over again, and that's what we're seeing. So that's what the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms. So I want you to pay attention to the PLCAA. When you hear it, tune your ears, pay attention to what's happening, and then actually make a statement, make a stand, send a letter, communicate about it.
The stuff I read, they said that it was probably going to be easy for them to repeal it because no one really knows what it is or that it's even out there.
Well, we know, and we're talking about it. So know it and put that into your knowledge base kit bag. So there's that. The Supreme Court is talking about hearing a case where the Supreme Court has said that they will hear a case about whether or not the police can enter your home to seize your guns without a warrant. And so they've just announced that it will hear arguments next month in a case that's presented, and it's Caniglia, Caniglia versus Strom. And so the guy and his wife got into an argument, and he did some dramatic statement, and he took a gun and he unloaded and he laid it on the table, and he's like, okay, kill me now. Well, she calls the police, and the police come, and they convince the guy that he needs to go get help. But once the guy, the homeowner, leaves, the police stay and tell the wife that the husband said that they could get all of his guns, and so they did a full search and seizure of his house to take his guns. He didn't say it. He didn't want it. And so they didn't have a warrant. That's really kind of the heart or the base of the case. And so it's going to be interesting to hear, is this really a gun case, or is this an illegal search and seizure case? Is this a Fourth Amendment?
They're saying that she gave consent, but it was negated because they told her that he gave consent, and that's why she gave consent.
Right. So they had told her, that we're not going to say lie.
A falsehood, they said.
An untruth.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lie. They stinking freaking lied to her, and she went with it because that's they're the officials. But so this is going to the Supreme Court, and they haven't really heard any Second Amendment cases. They booted all of them back last year in mid-year. But now what we're seeing is, do we really want them to hear a gun case that's really a Fourth Amendment case to draw the Second Amendment into the Fourth Amendment? It really is like playing 3D chess. And so is this the case that you really want?
For a case that's going to do them the most good.
Right.
So is it that the anti-guns think this Fourth Amendment thing's going to help them, or is it that we're just not smart enough to know how the game's played here?
I don't know. On this one, it's going to be pretty interesting because we've been looking for like the perfect whatever, and I'm not sure that this is me. I don't have a law degree. I'm an engineer. I'm just going to say I don't know that this is the perfect case because we're talking about a gun owner who then had, there's arguments, there's threats, there's noise, there's police, there's all of this stuff that comes into it. Do we really want that to be the bellwether case? Don't know. But we don't get to choose now because it's going to be. And then we'll see how they do it, what they do, how they expand, and what.
Usually, those two people get along together. It doesn't end up in court.
Right. It's when you get along at the top of your lungs. It's when your marital bliss includes yelling at one another loudly and throwing things. Yeah, I'm saying, but. Maybe I don't know. Virginia is in the news. Virginia is in the news because they have a gun rental background check bill. So think about this. If you go to the gun shop and you go to the range and you want to rent a gun to try it, you have to do a 4473 and a transfer so that they can temporarily transfer it into your possession so you can shoot it.
They have a complete, if you're buying from a private citizen or anywhere else, you have to, for long term, you have to do a background check. And this is new in that fact that it's just for gun rentals. They say it's going to overpower the system because there's so many people that, if you go to the gun range, how many people per day are sign up to rent a gun?
I would say that would be, if this passes, that everybody in Virginia needs to go rent a gun. Right? Just to
see how jammed up they can get it.
And they'll be like, we've got to rethink this. But anyhow, guess what? The great news is we're going to ask. We have Philip Van Cleave from the VCDL, so Virginia Citizens Defense League, is going to be our next guest. He's coming on, and he's going to talk about some of the social media stuff and the shutdown of a variety of things that have happened to him and his organization. So maybe we'll just ask him about this too if we've got time. But man, the story that he's telling, it is amazing and compelling, and it's First Amendment smacks Second Amendment. We'll be right back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Dan Perkins with your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
So, folks, we are back, and with us we have Philip Van Cleave from the VCDL.org. So it's the Virginia Citizens Defense League, and they really have an interesting story because we've all seen the battles that were happening where Virginia was pretty red and now it's kind of turning blue, and the gunfight has moved out of New York and New Jersey and expanded into Virginia. And some people say, well, how can you live in a place like that? Why don't you move? Well, it's following us and it's following you. So if you don't stand and fight, you're going to start to see more and more states. You know, the gunfight is coming to your state, whatever that is. So Philip is standing strong in Virginia and fighting the good fight. But man, right now he's been hit with a 1-2 punch that really has hit his organization. Hey Philip, thanks for joining us on Eye on the Target Radio.
Yeah, Amanda, hi. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so grateful to have you on. And so why don't we start with, why don't you tell folks what happened to your organization as you started to head toward Lobby Day this year, because this story is amazing, and not amazing in a good way.
Yeah, well, last year in 2020, we had probably the largest gun rights rally in the United States. We had over 50,000 people, and that was something our governor didn't want to see again. This totally contradicted his message that Virginians want gun control. So he was shown pretty definitely that that's not the case. And so this year, for example, we were going to book the same location, which is a bell tower on the Capitol grounds, and we've had our rallies for the last 18 years. And we were told that we could not book the bell tower more than 6 months out from the date. So it's always in July, which is when I've been booking it. But this year, actually it was in 2020 when I was booking for this year, 6 months out, we were told, oh, no, some groups have already booked that and all the other slots that day. Never heard of anything like that. So we did a Freedom of Information Act and found out it was gun control groups that had applied over a year before. They told us 6 months, but they let them apply out a year. And as you know, we have a very anti-gun governor, so they played fast and loose and let them book the bell tower. So we changed course. And between that and COVID, where they were trying to restrict the number of people anyhow that could be around, and closing the General Assembly, we decided to do a rolling rally. We called it Rolling for the 2A. And we ended up having over 1,000 vehicles all decked out in flags and Gun Saves Lives messages, 4 buses, big buses, totally decked out in gun rights messages, coming into Richmond, all on the 18th of this year. But the gun, as it turned out, there was a little karma involved in this. The gun groups that basically stole our slot at the bell tower ended up having all their permits canceled 3 or 4 days before lobby day. And in that sense, I'm so glad that we didn't get the permit, because if they pulled that on us, we wouldn't have had time to react at all. There's no way we could pull together the massive caravan we did without several months of hard work. And so we got our message across, but we had to do it very differently this year. It's definitely, they're trying to silence us. And right before lobby day, just as we are trying to coordinate vehicles, let all of our members know exactly how this is going to go on that coming Monday, just a few days before, Facebook pulled my account and didn't give me a reason other than I broke some rule and they could never put my account back. They wouldn't say what that was. Then our email provider, which allows us to put alerts out to over 50,000 people, they dropped us just days before, and I needed to desperately get an alert out to everybody to tell them what was going on. They suddenly, out of the blue, dropped us and didn't give us a reason. Then our VCDL page on Facebook went down as well. And so all of this just magically happened just days before lobby day. But we still pulled it off because we went to a new system to get our email out to the same people, and we did that, got everything coordinated, and pulled it off. Except, of course, that Richmond Police, who we had been coordinating with to let them know when we were coming, when we spread the caravans out over 4 hours so it wouldn't be a huge traffic jam. And still, they closed down roads, they did this, they did that. The caravans were all split up, didn't all get to go by the General Assembly. But we still, I mean, there was so many of us that it did force Richmond Police to do some maneuvers to shut down what we were doing, including pulling one of our buses over and holding it until the bus driver said he wouldn't drive back through Richmond again, that this trip was the one time through and they were going to leave. Then the police let him go. There was a very, very strange thing going on in all directions, but it was a little disappointing that Richmond Police did some of the stuff that they did, considering, we had been very forward with them and what our plans were so that there wouldn't be traffic jams and there wouldn't be problems.
Well, when they pulled the bus over and the bus had 100 cars or something following it, talk about
more than that.
Then they didn't know what to do, so they pretty much created their own traffic jam just because they were trying to so when you say karma, it really is, in a couple cases, the karma was strong that day.
Yes, it was. And I'm going to still get an answer from the police as to why they did that. My contact said he would check into it. Hasn't gotten back to me now in about a week and a half, so I'm going to call him on Monday and say, where are we? We demand to know why you pulled that bus over. Because apparently he got no ticket. The bus driver wouldn't give him the ticket. As soon as he said he would leave, then he was set free. So that's a real problem, the buses and everything were completely obeying traffic laws. Red lights, we stopped. And it split the caravans up and stuff. But that's it. The thing is, we didn't want to have a quote unquote event in Richmond, because if you had an event like where the buses stopped and people got out, then they could ban guns. So because we were doing a rolling rally through, the COVID stuff didn't affect us, and they couldn't call it an event. Therefore, people could be armed. But I'm telling you, it's crazy that we have to fight this hard just to have a First Amendment right to protect our Second Amendment.
Well, you guys were really kind of the poster. As we're sitting here watching the First Amendment things get stripped away from different people, your organization, your Second Amendment organization, was like one of them that I'm sitting there watching it going, oh my goodness. And so they had taken your Facebook page down. They took down the Virginia Citizens Defense League's Facebook page. They took out and canceled which one was it, MailChimp? MailChimp, our email system that we use to communicate with our thousands of members. So I'm going to tell everybody that if you're doing something and you've got one of those kind of accounts, you better be backing up your mail list on a periodic basis so that you've got it, because when you lose it, you potentially lose them all if you are not careful with all of that.
Right. We were actually leaving MailChimp. We hadn't announced it yet, and we were going to a new platform, but we weren't ready yet. In other words, if this had happened 2 months later, we wouldn't have even been on MailChimp. But as it was, we were in the process. But karma, thank heavens we were in the process, because at that point, within 24 hours, we raced ahead, got that list over to the new system, and fired out those emails a day late, but still before the caravans hit. So it was good. That was another case of karma. We went with technology. All of our buses had GPS trackers, so that people that wanted to merge in with these caravans going by could actually see where the buses were on a map in real time.
That's pretty cool. Now, you would tune all of the buses to come in, so they each came in, an hour apart? Is that how you did it?
Yeah. Yeah, Northern Virginia came in at noon, Eastern Virginia came in at 1, Southern Virginia at 2, and Western Virginia at 3. And so we were really trying to get our point across without, trying to be disruptive. But I'm definitely going to have a chat with the Richmond police. I'm not through talking to them about a lot of this stuff, because we may have to do the same thing next year. We're going to do whatever it takes to get our voices out there. If they're going to play games, and then we can play games too.
It is amazing to me. Hey, we've got a hard stop commercial break, but then when we come back, I'd like you to start to fill us in about some of the battles that you are fighting in Virginia. And let's start with your 50,000 person rally last year and why it was so critical that so many people showed up, because there is a piece to that. But the VCDL is actually an organization. It's vcdl.org, folks. You can join it from anywhere that you are. You can sign up for newsletters. You can hear what's happening, because if we don't stop it where he is, we're going to get it where we are.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, well, we are back, and with us is our guest, Philip Van Cleave, and he is on the front lines of the Second Amendment fight in Virginia. And he is the president of the organization VCDL, or Virginia Citizens Defense League. And there really is a whole lot of citizens and defense involved in it. VCDL.org. So, Philip, tell us a little bit about the battles that you guys are facing, and why did you have 50,000 people need to show up in, was that 2020 or 2019?
2020.
2020. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, go ahead. I was going to say, we had some bad elections, let's put it that way. And in essence, the Democrats controlled the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the House, and the Senate. So they controlled all of the branches of government. And our governor just had in his brain that people wanted gun control. I think really what it was is that we know that Bloomberg gave his campaign $1.5 million. So it was really payback. He'll do whatever he had to do to pay Bloomberg back for the money to get him elected. So he's been pushing gun control. Well, they really went crazy last year because they had control of everything. And so they had over 60 gun control bills in little old Virginia. And there were, of course, some pro-gun bills. All told, it was a lot of gun bills to keep track of. But they were going after everything but the kitchen sink. Reciprocity, quote-unquote assault rifles, higher capacity magazines. They went on and on. Red flag laws, universal background checks. And they were like kids in a candy shop. They really were going for the whole enchilada. And we had nothing to stop them with. We didn't have control of the House, the Senate, the governor, none of that stuff. So what we had, though, was numbers. And the governor last year, as soon as the elections were over, he said, well, we're really going to push gun control now, and we're going to, we're looking at confiscating assault rifles and stuff. He's saying that in the press. Well, that finally woke up a whole lot of sleeping people who've been paying no attention to their gun rights for years. That finally got through, and we had a sanctuary movement sweep the state where localities were saying in resolutions that they're not going to enforce any local gun control that is unconstitutional. And at little sleepy, Board of Supervisors meetings that on an extremely busy night might get 50 people there, they had 4,000 showing up. They had to move things to schools instead of little meeting rooms, and traffic jams and everything out in the middle of the country. And 95% of the states signed on to that, and then 50,000 people showed up for that lobby day right after that movement was pretty much wrapped up in November and December and into January of 2020. And Well, some gun control got through. We killed the worst of it. The assault weapon ban, they couldn't kill that bill quick enough. They brought it up in a committee that wasn't even supposed to hear it, just to kill it, because they looked at the massive number of people that had woken up in these huge movements, and 50,000 people on lobby day. They killed that bill quick, and it didn't come back this year. By the way, this year we only had 11 gun control bills in as opposed to 60. Why? It's an election year this year. We are, I think, the only state in the union in 2021 that has a major election. We are going to elect our entire House of Delegates, and we're going to elect our governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. So all that's open this year, and boy, Virginia governors, we had better be voting. Otherwise, we are in real trouble. But this is a chance to turn the ship around on November 2nd of 2021. But so that's what happened last year, and it worked in the sense that, yeah, we did get some gun control. You know, we got like red flag laws, but everything was watered way down. Like the red flag laws, the way they were going to do it was really going to be bad. In the end, what they passed, to me, the red flag laws are totally useless. If anything, there's much better ways to handle a situation where somebody might legitimately have mental issues. But I mean, I got watered down. Universal background checks, that got watered down. Like if you're truly giving a gun to somebody, no matter who it is you're giving the gun to, if you get nothing in return, no background checks required for that. We went to court and had 18 to 20-year-olds chopped out of universal background checks. They don't have to go through it, and so forth. So everything was watered down. But we still need to get rid of this stuff. And they pushed a few more items this year where we're still fighting. Nothing's gone through yet, but we're still fighting a few minor things. But they're keeping their heads down because it's an election year. But I'll tell you what, Katie bar the door if they get control of everything again in November. Virginia gun owners, we're going to be in some serious trouble. But on the other hand, if we stand up and vote, and I estimate there's at least 2 million gun owners in a state with 8 million people, we can do pretty much anything we want if we all get up and vote. You know, don't let anybody else carry your water. You carry your own water, and don't talk to me about elections not meaning anything. You need to get out and vote. Otherwise, you've given up and you're basically worthless to the cause.
Right. So how do you create mini Second Amendment advocates or gun owner advocates in the state of Virginia to keep them circling their wagons with their friends to get them all off the sofa on Election Day?
Well, we'll be reminding them of Election Day, but we're reminding them, what's going on. And right now we have everybody hopefully in the fight writing emails and stuff to their delegates and senators to kill the bills that are currently alive in the General Assembly. But, we've also got, last year they passed the ability for local governments to do gun control, something that we had taken away from them back in 2004. So we've only had 8 localities out of 190 so far that are trying to do any local gun control. But we're keeping everybody activated on that and reminding them that, we need to stop all of this stuff because they're coming at us in a whole variety of different directions. But I forget who it was that said, somebody during one of the wars, I guess, said, "Well, the poor bastards have us surrounded."
There's a whole lot of that. Yes. So this Ohio had a thing where different municipalities could pass whatever gun laws they wanted, and it's really hard on the citizens because you can't go into a town. You don't know if that town is whatever. It's your responsibility to know their laws, and they're all just kind of sleepers and hidden and that. So how do you convince people that even though it's not their municipality, it matters? They drive through it, they have a picnic there, they eat at a restaurant there, and those things impact them.
Yeah, and it'll spread. The same thing you just said a little while ago. You've got to be in the fight. If we don't stop it wherever it is, then it'll just keep spreading, especially if they see no resistance. I call it the NATO doctrine, really, and this I apply to gun owners in general. I don't care if you're a hunter, if you're a target shooter, if you carry for concealed carry purposes, self-defense. I don't care why you're a gun owner. Every one of us should stick together for all of us. That's what the NATO doctrine is. NATO said that if you attack a NATO country, you've attacked all the countries. So if you attack Belgium, then you've attacked the United States of America, and we'll respond as if you did attack us directly. And gun owners need to do that same concept, where if they go after hunters, or if they go after target shooters, if they go after concealed carry, if they go to ban handguns, if they go to ban shotguns, even if you don't have interest in one of those categories, if we all stood together and made a solid wall that blocked any of this stuff, we all fought together for each other's rights, we would be unstoppable. And that's the problem right now. We're divided, and that's exactly how the gun controllers want us, divided. They don't want they don't want the hunters to be concerned about the concealed carry permit holders, and the target shooters to care at all about hunting and what happens to those guys. That's a problem, and we can stop it. But if we could do it, we would truly be a powerful force that they wouldn't dare touch.
A force to behold. So, hey, folks, we are talking to Philip Van Cleave from the VCDL.org, and man, they've got a fight on their hands, and we need to support them. Go join their organization.